Turns out all the crazy cranks and conspiracy theorists who were concerned about chemtrails and weather modification, well, you might have been proven right after all. I've just come out the most extraordinary 2-hour congressional hearing here at the Capitol in Washington, D.C. on that very, very topic. Experts all agreeing weather modification, cloud seeding, chemtrails, it's real. Here's what happened.
My written testimony goes into detail explaining my decision to join more than 500 other scientists and academics from around the world to call for a solar engineering non-use agreement. I'll just briefly state first, the understandings are not sufficiently developed to know what the outcomes would be, and unintended consequences are almost certain to happen. Second, our 70-year history with weather modification should give us some humility in thinking that we can understand what the consequences might be. We've been trying to modify the weather for 70 years, and we don't know if we're modifying the weather. And finally, we have one Earth, and experimenting on it carries considerable risks. I have likened geoengineering to risky gain-of-function research on viruses with uncertain benefits and catastrophic risks.
Now, the federal government has been involved in cloud seeding since the 1940s. Using the planet as a test monkey for emerging technologies poses all sorts of risks. Among these that have been highlighted by the EPA are stratospheric ozone depletion, acid rain, and reduced crop yields. There's also the question of whether such large-scale climate interventions is even necessary given the uncertainties regarding climate change.
For years, anybody who questioned weather modification was labeled crazy or a conspiracy theorist. Now we've learned that they've been doing it for decades. One geoengineering company called Make Sunsets injects aerosol into the atmosphere to reflect sunlight back into space. I want to show you their frequently asked questions. Why? It says, unless we reflect sunlight, tens of millions of people will die, and 20% of species may go extinct. These climate activists have come so far that they are actively trying to inject chemicals into the air to block the rays of the sun from hitting the earth. And they want to take away our God-given rights over the earth in order to satisfy their godless climate cult beliefs. Potentially cooling the earth could also cause people to freeze to death, crops to die, and could literally lead to killing millions and millions of people.
The UK government, unbelievably, has just given £50 million to a firm to research chemtrails and dimming the sun in the UK. This is the moment I caught up with Republican Marjorie Greene and told her all about what's happening in the UK. We had a company in the UK where the government's just approved a £50 million donation for pretty much chemtrails dimming out the sun in the UK. One of your experts in there said that it was equivalent to the gain-of-function research on viruses as we saw during COVID. Do you think the Overton window on this now is shifting, as we saw with COVID?
I certainly hope so. You said that your government approved it?
Yes, they gave them the money, £50 million for research.
So I think that's equivalent to what happened during COVID. I think it's equivalent to mandating experimental vaccines into people's body. And I have deep empathy for the people in the UK. They're not lab rats, and they shouldn't be, and their tax dollars should not be used against them in some sort of basically experimental, what should be taking place in a lab, but it's being done to them without their say, and it's terrible.
Turns out British viewers and indeed Americans weren't cranks and conspiracy theorists about the weather and geoengineering, chemtrails. An extraordinary hearing just now.
Thank you very much. No, they're not conspiracy theorists. They're not crazy. It actually has been happening for a very long time, not just here in the United States, but also in many countries around the world.
Everything, life grows from the sun. Mm-hmm. What kind of person would want to block out the sun?
Well, my observation, based on my years here in Congress and also this hearing that I thought was exceptional, is there's a big difference between the right and the left. The right primarily believes that God created the earth and that God controls our atmosphere. The left is primarily godless, and they believe that humans can control the climate, can control the weather, and they believe they have the authority to do it no matter what anyone else thinks.
And it was only in April this year that I told viewers of Benlio Tonight back home in the UK that Britain was set to approve funding of up to £50 million for a very strange experiment to dim the sun. Good evening to you. Thank you for your company. I hope you enjoyed the glorious sunshine we had today and indeed are excited for the so-called heat wave next week. I know I am. Because sunshine is a beautiful thing, isn't it? It's literally life force, God energy, that allows flowers to flourish and powerful trees to grow. It allows us to grow food, it heals and nourishes our bodies and makes pub beer gardens that much sweeter too. So ask yourself then, why would anyone ever want to block out the sun deliberately? What kind of person would want to do that kind of thing? Well, if you ever needed proof that we're led by dangerous, incompetent weirdos, that's what they're planning to do now, here in the UK. British scientists are launching a £40 million government-funded geoengineering experiment to literally test dimming the sun in the name of solving climate change. In a nutshell, they're going to be spraying aerosols into the sky out of planes, i.e. creating so-called chemtrails, to try and dim the sun, all at the altar of climate change. Another potential solution to stopping climate change, according to ARIA, is marine cloud brightening, in which ships would spray sea salt particles into the sky to enhance cloud reflectivity. Professor Jim Hayward of the University of Exeter said that ship emissions lead to bright lines in clouds over the ocean, and he cited a 2014 volcanic eruption in Iceland that spilled out a lot of sulfur dioxide, which brightens clouds and cools the planet.
Weather modification is ongoing, and the reporting is not particularly good. Assessing the effectiveness is not good, and that leads people to ask questions. So if we go back to Project Cirrus, back 1947, I think it was Hurricane King, it started dissipating, and then it took a left turn and then struck the U.S. It's a natural question when someone intervenes in a system to say, did your intervention cause this bad thing to happen? This is why I've recommended having a very public, very authoritative study. We can't have Republican science and Democrat science. We have to have science that's trusted by everyone to assess what weather modification has been done, what have been the effects. If we don't know what the effects are, what research can we do to know those effects? You guys have the National Academy of Sciences at your disposal where you can ask exactly these questions. And a great question would be, given what we know about weather modification, what could our adversaries and enemies put it to use, and how would we know it?
If they truly believed their global warming hoax and the rising sea levels and the cost of all of us will be underwater in a few short years, why are they investing millions of dollars into beachfront properties across the same coast they claim will be underwater? Bill and Melinda Gates own a $43 million beachfront home in California. The Obamas own a $12 million waterfront compound in Martha's Vineyard. Mark Zuckerberg is building a $270 million beachfront compound in Hawaii. Mark Cuban owns a $19 million beachfront mansion on the coast of California.
So there we go, quite an extraordinary 2 hours or so on Capitol Hill here. You're not crazy, you're not conspiracy theorists, and you're not cranks. One expert even likening geoengineering and weather modification to gain-of-function research during COVID. This is Ben Leo in Washington, DC. See you soon.